One of the things I was thinking about this morning, frankly, because I need to, in my own life, make sure that I focus on this a little bit more, and that is this ability to have somebody to report to, somebody we would call an accountability partner. I like to call him a running partner.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast.
Minisode.
And welcome to the program, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Recently had a 2-day workshop. In fact, that workshop is ongoing. As long as we keep getting people signing up, we'll keep putting it out there. It's an online 2-day workshop, intensive 16 hours, believe it or not, of principles and tactics and practical things that you can start putting into your business. It's called the Go Remodel Your Appraisal Office workshop, and it's found on my website. But, I got to thinking, and part of that section, we talked a little bit about a principle that I thought would be worthy of, at least in part, sharing here with you. Want to pause and remind you, we are sponsored by ANow Software. Of course, ANow is the software that I have been using for a couple of years now. In fact, I got a message just this morning from somebody asking me how I keep track of the commissions that I give to my various appraisers. And the fast answer back was ANow. Check them out. Go to anow.com/coach. One more time. It's anow.com/coach. All right, folks. So we were talking a little bit about principles and practical tips and ideas and things that you can implement in your business to start changing your business. And, in a workshop, it's different than a webinar. For example, I do not do a PowerPoint presentation. We limit the seats to 20, which allows us to interact. Everybody has a video. Everyone has audio. Everyone has a microphone. In other words, not just to be able to hear, but also to speak. It's a truly interactive environment. It's a classroom environment. Yes, it's online. Yes, you don't have to do any travel. Yes, you can do it on your computer, but it is an interactive environment. And as such, we have this opportunity to, I present ideas, and we talk about principles, and we talk about specifics on how to remodel your business. But there's also every hour a lot of discussion. In fact, we actually break out to classroom settings, if you will. So there might be 20 there, but we might do 5 rooms of 4. For example, and I can pop in and out of those rooms and help keep everybody on track. But in other words, it's not just a group of 20 that you're meeting with. It's also smaller groups as well that you can get a little bit more intimate and specific with. And the conversations that we had were just so fun, so exciting. This has been a great thing to be able to roll this workshop out. But one of the things I was thinking about this morning, frankly, because I need to, in my own life, make sure that I focus on this a little bit more. And that is this ability to have somebody to report to, somebody we would call an accountability partner. I like to call him a running partner, somebody who you have to answer to. Why? Well, as of this recording, we're in the first part of 2019, the first quarter of 2019, and statistics will show that those that set these quote unquote New Year's resolution, by the way, I personally don't do New Year's resolutions. I've not had a lot of success doing New Year's resolutions. I do instead what's called a vision story. By the way, we talk about that as well as other forms of goal setting in the workshop as well. But I do a vision story at the end of the year, the first of the year, usually between Christmas and New Year's. I won't go into details to what a vision story is here. Again, that's something that we talk in detail about on the workshop, but it's different than New Year's resolutions. But nonetheless, the principle is the same in the sense that you've got this goal that you're working toward. You've got this vision of where you're headed. And really, when I say vision, it's more than where you're headed. It's where you see yourself as if it has already happened. And I find that if I present myself with this story, this vision, this idea, this Well, vision. Vision is the best word I can think of to explain this, because it really is a full picture. It's not just words on a paper. It's really understanding where you see yourself in the next year. But if you can put that down on paper and refer to it often, then the goals that you're setting throughout the year will allow you to be able to get there by the end of the year, at least mostly there. And that's the goal. 82% is the goal. Okay. If you can get 82% there, well, you're 82% further along than you were the year previous. Okay. It gives some flexibility to be human and to quote unquote fail a little bit. But mostly success is what we're shooting for. But if you look at statistics, if you step back and actually look at statistics with, for example, New Year's resolutions, not just a majority, but a huge majority of people have already quit, given up, and pushed off to the side their New Year's resolutions. Statistically, not just 50, 60, or 70, but 80+%. I think last time I checked, it was actually close to 90% by March of any given year, close to 90%. So 9 out of 10 people have given up on their New Year's resolutions. Now, that doesn't mean that they weren't good goals. That doesn't mean that they weren't well thought out. That doesn't even mean that they weren't truly meaning what they said when they set the goals. Most people actually mean what they do. In other words, it's not just a silly little practice that they go to. They really, really want this to happen. And they've thought it through, and it's achievable. Okay, it's not that they can't achieve it. It's that we give up, and we give up too early. And that's just human nature. We're all excited for our New Year's resolutions. We hit it hard. I mean, have you ever been to a gym in January? I mean, you ought to avoid the place in January. Trust me, it is insane to try to find anything that you can do because it's so full. But have you tried to find a gym near the end of February? Easy. Why is that? I think it's everything to do with accountability. Speaking of accountability, I want to pause here and remind you about ANow software. One of the great things about ANow is it allows me technologically to be accountable to myself and to my clients. Why? Because everything you put in ANow is put in a timeline. And at any given moment, you can receive notifications on things that are coming up that are due today, that are overdue. Revision requests that might come in, you can set all of that up, and it's so easy to follow. And it's so easy to get those reminders on a daily basis. Every morning I get 2 emails, one for myself and one for my other appraiser in the office. And I can quickly, at a glance in that email, don't even have to go into the ANow software. I can, at a glance, look at those emails and know exactly which appointments are set for today, which reports are due. And if I never like to get to this, but if any of them are overdue, they show up in red, big, bold, scare me to death. Holy smoke, something's wrong here, right? ANow keeps me on track. It keeps me accountable. It'll do the same for you. Check them out right now. Go to anow.com/coach. One more time, it's anow.com/coach. All right, folks, welcome back. We're talking today about why it is that human beings don't achieve our goals. And granted, there are a lot of reasons why we give up on our goals, right? It becomes too hard. We slip back into old habits. We say, the results are not coming as fast as I wanted them to. There's a variety of different things that we do both consciously and subconsciously to give up on our goals. And it's too bad because, again, as I said before the sponsor, these goals are decent goals, right? It's not that they're so audacious that they can't be achieved. They can be achieved. They should be achieved. So why is it that we're giving up? One of the biggest factors, and by the way, this is not just my opinion. This is not just Dustin Harris speaking here. This is backed up by social science. Social science will show that a huge majority of goals get accomplished if there's one thing in place. Well, from the title of today's podcast and from, the things that I've already alluded to, you already know what that one thing is. Statistics show that your goal is 86% more achievable. Okay. No, I did not stutter. 86% more achievable if you have an accountability partner. If you have somebody, not just something, okay, not just a computer, not just a reminder from Siri, those help as well, but an actual person that you have to account to. And by the way, statistics show that it doesn't matter much how well you know that person, which is kind of surprising. Some of us might think, well, if it's somebody that I know really well, that I don't want to disappoint, that I don't want to unimpress, then I'm going to be more likely to account positively to that person. Statistics actually show that's not accurate. Statistics actually show that 86% is pretty consistent whether or not you know that person well or not. What did we learn from this? Okay, the conversation that we had in the recent workshop that I put on, that I alluded to in the beginning of the episode today, is that when someone has someone else a human being, someone else that they have to account to, whether they know that person or not know that person, they don't want to let that person down. Psychologically, we human beings hate to let other people down. We're nice people, right? We don't want to disappoint. We're people pleasers, okay? Some of us more so than others. But all of us on an innate human level, on a base level, we want to impress others. We don't want to disappoint, okay? And even though it's about our goal, even though it's about our weight, even though it's about us stopping smoking or alcohol or relationship improvement or exercise or financial improvement and getting out of debt or you name it, fill in the blank. Okay, obviously I spend most of my time talking with and dealing with and coaching and mentoring business owners, specifically appraiser business owners. But this idea and this psychological process that we go through is the same whether you're an appraiser or a plumber or a housewife or a house husband or a landscaping technician or you name it. It doesn't matter. We're just human beings. And as human beings, we like to achieve and we like to move forward and we like to improve ourselves, but we only like it so much on our own. We only like it enough to get through February, for example. Unless we have an accountability partner, unless we have somebody to account to, unless we have somebody that on a daily, possibly, or weekly, or even monthly, or even quarterly basis, depending on what the goals are. Obviously, the more often, the better. Can you imagine what you would do with your eating habits, for example? I use that one because that's my big vice. Those of you who have seen me in person know, okay? That's my big, I love food. I love food. To me, food is not just taste, it's an experience, right? So I love food and I create those experiences for me and I pay for it as well. It sticks with me, as they say, right? So let's take that example. How more likely would I be to avoid those treats, those carbs, that bread, that whatever, fill in the blank, if I knew that every single morning I had to wake up and make a phone call? Whether I knew that person or not. And by the way, some people say that if you do know the person, you're much more likely to not be completely honest with them. In other words, I think that's maybe the trade-off that I talked about. And I'm projecting here a little bit because I don't know if this actually plays out in statistics, but I do know statistics say that whether you know that person or not, you have about the same results, okay, is how I want to put that. Is it possible that if you know somebody that you were a little bit less inclined to be completely and fully forthright, where if you don't know somebody, what do you have to lose? It's not like you're losing a friend here. Yet the whole purpose of an accountability partner is that when you see that donut, for example, and you're tempted to have the experience, okay, not just eat the donut, again, have the experience of having that donut, that the flip side of that usually will outweigh the joy of the experience of the donut will be, tomorrow I have to make a phone call and I've got to report this donut. Is it really worth it? And as you might understand, as you might surmise, it's not. It typically is not. Typically, you're going to look at that and you're going to say, if I didn't have that accountability partner, I would probably eat this donut, but because I have to make that phone call in the morning, I'm not going to do it. Or what happens when you wake up, your alarm goes off at 6:15 in the morning, and it's a 15-minute cold drive to the gym, okay? How easy is it to turn off that alarm, hit the snooze button, and go back to bed? But if you know that you have a running partner, an accountability partner that's waiting for you at the gym, how much more likely are you going to will yourself out of that bed and into those gym shorts and the gym shoes and down to the gym? I think it's obvious. My question, appraisers, Do you have an accountability partner? We as appraisers have such a unique situation. It really is an interesting thing to be able to coach and mentor appraisers across the nation, because I find, and this is a generality of course, but a huge majority of appraisers are introverted. They're not very outgoing, if you will, and that's okay. Be honest with you, I'm the same way. I know people don't believe that, but I do have to put on a bit of a mask when I get on the microphone. Okay, I would I renew my energy with a good book by the fire, okay, or a movie by myself, as it were. Okay, just trust me on this. But it is very interesting as you look at appraisers in general. Okay, we really do like our appraiser cave. We really do like to hide away and do our little work and leave me alone, and I'm just going to focus, right? That can be a good thing, and that's why a lot of us are successful at what we do, because we can focus, we can get to the task, and we can get that task done. And that's a business owner, that's a good thing, right? But as a human being, and really on a big scale as a business owner, how do we achieve more? How do we reach for success? How do we move forward? If we don't have somebody to report to, if we don't have somebody to bounce ideas off of, if we don't have an accountability partner. Folks, there's a lot of ways that you can get an accountability partner. By the way, I would not suggest that it is your spouse or your significant other. I would not suggest that it's typically your child or someone particularly close to you. Okay, I found, at least in my experience, it's been better to reach outside to find that accountability partner. By the way, I would not make it a business partner either, if you can avoid it. Again, having that is better than not having it at all, but I highly recommend that you find, for example, a way to trade services. Hey, I'll be your running partner if you'll be my running partner. What goals are you working on? Here are my goals, and let's hold each other accountable. Then you've got some give and take, and there's no cost involved. If you must go to the cost level, by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, statistics will actually show that might be a positive thing as well. If you are actually paying for an accountability partner, and there are paid services out there, people who will call you daily or weekly or what have you, okay, and you can pay them for their time. These are people you typically don't know personally. They might be calling from across the country, but they will make a phone call and they will call you. In 15 minutes, you can chat about your day, your week, your month, what have you. Okay. They're not cheap. Services might be, $100 a month for a weekly phone call, a goal setting and accountability, okay, phone call. But folks, what is that $100 a month or $1,200 a year worth you being the difference between you setting goals and in March throwing them away, or setting goals and in December saying, I got them done? Where could you be as a business owner, as a person, as a husband, as a wife, as a partner? Where could you be in 9 months with an accountability partner? You already know what you need to do. You already know what goals you need to set for yourself. It's a matter of holding your feet to the fire. Speaking of holding your feet to the fire, one of the great things about my mastermind, and we have 6 of them, by the way, across the country. By the way, we have a couple of open seats now. A couple of mastermind students have moved on in Chicago and some of these others. So if you are interested in any of the I think there might be at least one open seat in each of the cities, which would be Las Vegas, Dallas, Salt Lake, Chicago, and of course, Washington, D.C. Please reach out to Lee, my assistant. Lee can be found at theassistant@theappraisercoach.com, theassistant@theappraisercoach.com. We would love to have you in those masterminds, not just to talk about your business, but also to be able to set goals and hold you accountable each quarter. It's the mastermind groups, and you can find them at theappraisercoach.com. Catch you next time, folks.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star Team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.